Hello and welcome to the Quebber channel. I'm Jason, your host. I hope you're all okay. I've just got back from a ride on my Quingo, and one of the things that came to mind when I was out there riding was a talk I want to do now. Because sometimes it's hard for people to listen to what's going on my rides because there is a lot of traffic and so on. The thing is, I don't hate the man that destroyed my future. I don't hate him. And a lot of people don't understand that. To put this in perspective, this person, after my mum went into a care home, who was the boyfriend of my mother, who I trusted completely, destroyed the entire legacy that she had set aside for me. For me personally. She was not rich. My mum was not rich. She had a hard life and she worked really hard to make sure that me, because she knew I had issues, would be safe when she died. So, but why don't I hate him? It's very simple, actually. Even though in total he cost me £164,000 in cash, he did about £35,000 worth of damage to this house, and he sold £20,000 of my mum's jewellery and her antiques and that. I don't hate him, because I understand that the only reason he did this was because he must have had a psychotic break with reality. How do I know that? Because I knew him for 15 years. Me and Paola did. And for most of that time, this wasn't a long con. This wasn't a nasty bit. This was the person that took me and Paola to every single hospital appointment for Paola. Thousands of appointments. Who was there at 2 a.m. in the morning. Who would at any time drop everything to help me and Paola out. And when my mum was diagnosed with early onset dementia, he gave me his house next door to live in, and he looked after my mum. And by look after my mum, I mean this person who was his girlfriend ended up being someone he had to change diapers for and deal with all that. That was that person. But as social services and me have come to realise back then, when it happened, this was not a crime of malice. This was a person divorcing from reality. This was a person who had too much happen. My mum having early onset dementia, I'm having to deal with that. My wife, who we pretty much adopted as a daughter, who we adored, dying of cancer. And my issues as well, and his mother dying. You see, he wasn't the kind of person to ask for help. It was that generation that never went for counselling, never got any help. No one. He would always say he was fine and you couldn't talk to him about any of it. We always offered, but it wasn't there. And don't think this was just a one-way street. And for those 15 years odd, he had mine and Paola's bank account details, and he had our debit cards and our PIN numbers. Why? Because when we were given money by my mum, or when we were being helped out, or we had sold something in the house, he was the one who went to the bank and put the money in, or went to the bank and got some of my money out. He never stole. He never took anything in those first 15 years at all. Absolutely nothing. Now, we can always think, was it the influence of his girlfriend after my mum passed away? After my mum went into a home. I don't know. But somewhere between 5 and 6 years ago, he started to change. He became secretive. He lied about everything. He stole money every single week out of the bank. He told lies, different lies to everyone. He created a whole fantasy reality where he was not part of that. So even when I say he ruined my future, what do I mean? When he destroyed my future? Let me put it this way. With my problems, with my disabilities, with my issues that I face, the chance of me ever being able to work, to ever be free from the DWP is almost non-existent. The only time in my past I was able to work was for one reason and one reason only. My mum was there as a safety net. I lived at home with my mum, and the jobs I took were a security guard, night work away from anybody else. And I mean, I was the only person on the sites and I could turn the place into my safe space. The guy who ran the security firm knew what I was like and what I needed to be able to do. And I always knew that if I had a bad day, if I forgot something, if things went wrong, if I made a mess, if I lost the job, it would be okay because I could go home and my mum would pay my bills and look after me, as she always had. When she passed away, she put in place situations where I would have had about £164,000 cash, a really well looked after home, and that safety net would have meant, when I say that would have allowed me to come off DWP, what I actually mean is it would allow me to come off DWP and try to get a job. Because I would know that if I failed, if I had a bad day, if I had a bad week, if I failed at a job, if I got fired, if all the bad things that could happen to do with me, if I had to pay for food, pay for thingy, I had this fallback. I had this 164,000 in the bank. That was the whole plan of it. Of being there, not to live on it because that doesn't last a long time, but to try and get some kind of work, either working from home. You see, the problem is now is this. I have no safety net. If I come off disability and I get a job and I fail at that job, oh yes, they say that they'll allow you back onto disability, but you have to be ratified by the new system that doesn't work for most people, unfortunately. That's what they haven't really publicised. So everything that's my safe space, all of this would disappear when I get a job. Using computers would no longer be a safe space, it would be work. And what if I forget what I've got to do that day? What if I miss my job? What if I get up in the morning, look at a wall and end up sitting down on the floor, looking at that wall for 6 hours? Not going to go so well for my job, is it? What if I start work on my job and my brain completely blanks and I have no idea what I'm doing for the day and I have no knowledge of what's been taught me? Remember, I can play Minecraft, and the reason I stopped playing Minecraft was the recipes. Because what would happen was this, and this, we're talking even simple recipes. I'd look at the recipes, I'd turn them off, I'd look at the crafting table, and I'll have forgotten. I'll look at the recipes again, and this would happen 30 or 40 times. Because my brain would just not keep the knowledge. So this fear of them telling me what to do and then me not remembering it, even if I write it down, because then I've got to remember where my notes are. Then I've got to remember to actually look at the notes. So all these problems. But the biggest problems would be stress and worry that what if I failed? that would cripple me. That would destroy me from even starting. I wouldn't be able to sleep for weeks beforehand. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night wondering if I would forget something. I wouldn't be able to sleep because I'd be wondering, if I don't sleep, I can't do my job next day. I won't be able to function. And that would stop me sleeping. So when I say he destroyed my future, he did. Because all that work my mum put into having a place for me, having a safety net for me that would always be there, so that I could try doing narration work, try becoming self-employed, try doing online work, and all these things that I'd love to try, because believe me, most people on disability do not like the fact that they are charity cases. It is soul destroying. It destroys your self-worth to know that you don't make your own money. Making your own money is one of the most amazing things to do. It boosts your self-worth and everything about the situation. But without that safety net, I couldn't do it. So yeah, when I say that his actions, even though I don't hate him, destroyed a particular future for me. And I'm just glad that my mum had, not that Paola died and didn't ever see the change in him, and that my mum was never conscious at the end to know what he had done to all the stuff that she had saved up for me. And if you wonder how much of a different reality he created, see, the reason he had a heart attack, we think, the massive cardiac arrest, was because of stress, because the social services had basically told him they were going to audit the money because one of the bills hadn't been paid to, well, actually about 3 months worth of bills hadn't been paid to my mum's home. Toiletries and stuff like that, they had been waiting 3 months for it, and he hadn't paid it. And I had no idea. I was thinking, oh yeah, it's just a mistake. They can check the money, no problem. I said, no, yeah, I've got no problem with checking my mum's bank accounts and that. They're all fine, everything's fine. Trevor knew that there was only like £300 left in an account that should have had about 90,000 in it. And other bank accounts that should have had 15 or 20,000 pounds in them had £1.50 in them. And even right up to the day he passed away, he was still lying to me. He was still saying to me, he says, don't worry, we've got enough money. If you need anything, just let me know. And yeah, it's just a mistake. I did pay that money to the thingies. It's just a clerical error. It wasn't. And I only found out once he was dead. So I don't hate him, because he did so much good for my mum before she passed. He did so much for my wife. I think he did just have a completely psychotic break with reality and created his own reality. I saw that happen to my mum once. Hers was slightly different, but when Paola was diagnosed with cancer, my mum disappeared for 3 days. No one could get in touch with my mum. This was unlike my mum. My mum loved Paola, pretty much adopted Paola as her daughter. They were thick as thieves, those two. They spent all their time together. We found out later that my mum had gone home once the diagnosis of cancer had been given, and for 3 days, without sleep, she cleaned their house. And I mean everything, with bleach, and convinced herself that if she cleaned the house enough, then the men in white coats wouldn't come and Paola wouldn't have cancer. So I know how breaks with reality can happen. So I lost something that I'll never get back. But yeah, that's why I don't hate the guy who destroyed my best future. A future where I may have been able to get a job. It was still a very 5% chance that I would be able to hold a job or do it, function enough to do a job, and it'd have to be a very specific type of job. But because of not having that safety net, I will never be able to try, because the thought, it terrifies me that if I fail, which the act of being scared of failing will cause my brain to lock up and fail, means I'm in this situation, beholden to the DWP, and will never have the freedom that people that aren't beholden to the DWP have. Bye bye for now.